Leni benye unile loko. Esiku dede asiku yi. Hello everyone, it's Adirunke again. Hope your day is going well. Today I'd like to continue with the number 2. In the previous 2 videos on the series, I've addressed the Cardinal, Ordinal, Adjectival, Adverbial, Collective, Distributive, and Fractional aspects of the applicable Yoruba numbers. This time I'm going to discuss what 2 is in all these forms. The number itself, the idea itself is AG. So the idea of 2, the concept of 2 in Yoruba is AG. However, in the cardinal form, that is when you're counting, when you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, when you're counting, let's say you throw things on the ground, nuts or seeds on the ground, and you're counting them one by one, you'll go okon, AG, 1, 2, the 2 there is AG. That's what 2 is in the cardinal form. Cardinal being when you're counting. AG. In the ordinal form, for indicating position, so ordinal answers questions or offers statements regarding the order of appearance, whether it's the first or the second or the third or the fourth. Ordinal is order. Cardinal is counting. Ordinal is order. So the order of appearance, is it the first, is it the second, is it the third, is it the fourth? The second in Yoruba is Ikeji. However, you will state Ikeji when it is not coming immediately after a noun. So Ikeji can't come immediately after a noun. Let's say you want to say, and in Yoruba adjectives or adjectival forms tend to come after nouns, not before. So in the English language, you would say 2 girls, or the second girl, if I'm being true to the ordinal context that I'm speaking of, the second girl. But in Yoruba, we would say omo keji. The noun will come before the what is serving as the adjective there. So you cannot say ikeji immediately after a noun. You would have to say keji. You will remove the e, the first letter, vowel, and it would be keji rather than ikeji. If it is stated, or if it is to be stated immediately after a noun, keji would apply. But if it is not to be stated immediately after, if it is not appearing after a noun in a statement, then ikeji would apply. If someone asks the question, what position are we in? Ipo wo ni awa. And you want to say the second, you can just say ikeji, and that would be sufficient enough. It's complete that way, if you don't want to make a fuller statement. However, if you want to make a full statement, you say ipo keji ni awa. Ipo is position. That word is a noun. The word position is a noun. So rather than saying keji ipo, second position, keji ipo, in Yoruba the noun comes before the adjective. So ipo keji, position second. That's how you'd say it in Yoruba. Ipo keji, position second. Second position is where we are. Ipo keji ni awa. Next we have the adjectival. And to understand what the adjectival means, we have to know what an adjective is. It's a word or phrase naming an attribute added to or grammatically related to a noun to modify or describe it. A word or phrase naming an attribute added to or grammatically related to a noun. So in the context of numbers, that would be quantity, how many. That's like the attribute. To answer a question regarding the quantity or to offer a statement in that regard, how many, you have this. It answers the question how many or offers a statement regarding how many, regarding the quantity. Méjì, méjì, méjì. Méjì, that's the adjectival form. Méjì. So let's say somebody asks the question, Iṣu mélòó ni ẹ fẹ́ rà? Iṣu mélòó ni ẹ fẹ́ rà? How many yams do you want to buy? Iṣu mélòó ni ẹ fẹ́ rà? Iṣu mélòó ni ẹ fẹ́ rà? How many yams do you want to buy? If you say méjì, that's fine. Typically do short statements, short answers. Just the central point is the how many there, mélòó. So méjì, two. That's fine. You can also, if you want to give a fuller statement, you want to, you could say Iṣu méjì ni mo fẹ́ rà. I want to buy 2 tubers of yam. Iṣu méjì ni mo fẹ́. So this one answers the question, how many? How many? What's the quantity? That's the adjectival. That's the attribute, the quantity. Méjì, 2, or Iṣu méjì ni mo fẹ́ rà. That's what 2 looks like, the number 2 looks like in its adjectival form. Next, we have the adverbial. And to understand what it is, let's look at what an adverb is first. A word or phrase that modifies or qualifies an adjective, verb, or other adverb. In the context of numbers, the word qualify would be quality. I'm glad that there's qualifies here, the word qualifies, because it makes it clear. Modifies or qualifies. So in the context of numbers, that would be quality. Quality being how many times. How many times. That's the quality. The attribute would be how many. The quality would be how many times. Expressing the relation of place, time, circumstance, manner, cause, degree. How many times? What's the frequency? What's the quality? So that's what adverbial is. So in the adverbial form, it expresses a countable number of times. How many times? Was it once? Was it twice? Which we're going to address because we're doing the number 2. Was it twice? etc. So in Yoruba, twice is ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì. 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 Twice. Ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì. That's 2 in the adverbial form. Ẹ̀ẹ̀mélòó ni ó lọ? It's on the right. Ẹ̀ẹ̀mélòó ni ó lọ? How many times did you go? Ẹ̀ẹ̀mélòó. How many times? Ni ó lọ did you go? Ẹ̀ẹ̀mélòó ni ó lọ? Ẹ̀ẹ̀mélòó ni ó lọ? The answer, you could say ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì twice, or if you want to give a fuller statement in response to that question, you could say ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì ni mo lọ. Ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì ni mo lọ. I went 2 times, or I went twice. Ẹ̀ would be the times. Méjì would be the 2. Ẹ̀ would be times. Méjì would be 2. If you remember, a word or phrase that modifies or qualifies an adjective, verb, or other adverb, or a word group expressing a relation of place, time, circumstance, manner, how many times, circumstance, how many times, cause, degree. So in the ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì case, it's qualifying an adjective, so to say. It's modifying or qualifying an adjective, Méjì, that's the adjectival form of 2. How many? Méjì. So this one would be times, and this one would be 2. 2 times. Times 2, so to say. Times 2. Times 2. 2 times. Ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì. I'm just trying to help you see how these come together. How a and meji became a meji. Mido is meji. However, as a result of this being added to it, this changes. So it becomes a meji rather than a meji. In certain dialects, they do say a meji. I've heard that in some Yoruba dialects. However small their population is, but a meji, 2 times, twice. That's what twice is. So how many times did you go? A meji, twice. Or a meji nimulo, I went twice. I went 2 times. Next, we have the collective form. The collective. It signifies that several persons or things are taken definitely and unitedly together. So it could be only. So in this case, in the collective case, you're counting. It's like definitely and unitedly and collectively and totally together. If it's just one person and they look around, oh, it's just me, you have only. If you are with somebody else and you look around, somebody asks, how many of you want the DVD, something like that? Only me. If you're 2 people and you look around, or you both came together, you see another person who also wants to support you in getting the DVD, say both of us. Or if you're 3, all 3 of us want the DVD. Or if you're 4, all 4 of us want the. Oh, it's a pity you couldn't see my hands. I was doing a lot of dramatizing with my hands. So all 3 of us, all 4 of us, all 5 of us, definitely and unitedly together, the collective. Méjèèjì is what would apply. So both would be all 2, or typically in English you say both. I would say both is used more commonly than all 2 of us in statements. If all 2 is used at all. Both. Méjèèjì, that's the collective form of 2. Méjèèjì. So somebody asks, ẹ̀yin mélòó ni ẹ wá? How many of you came? Ẹ̀yin mélòó ni ẹ wá? Count how many of you are there, how many of you came, actually, rather than how many of you are there, because you're taking yourselves definitely and collectively and unitedly together. Both of us came, both. So all 2, but I intend to say both because I guess that's proper for English. Àwa méjèèjì ni a wá. Àwa méjèèjì. Both, or all 2, or both of us are the ones who came, or both of us came. Àwa méjèèjì. Us 2 are the ones who came. Us 2. Àwa méjèèjì. Us 2 are the ones who came. In the distributive sense, you have 2 in the answers how many each or how many at a time form. So in the distributive, how many each, there's a distribution involved. So you use this in that context. How many each or how many at a time? How many each or how many at a time? Is it 1 each or 2 each or 3 each? How many each? Or how many did they get at a time? How many did they each get, if it involves getting something? Or how many did they get at a time? 1 each, 2 each, 3 each, and so on. Èjèèjì is how to express that. Èjì. It's like saying 2. They got 2 each. They got 2. 2 2. They got 2 each. 2 2. 2 2 2 2. It's AG 2 2 combined. AG forms AG. AG came from saying 2 2. 2 each. How many at a time? 2 each. That's the distributive form. AG. However, you can only say this when it is not stated immediately after a noun. If it is not to be stated immediately after a noun, you would say AG. In the example, in the video on 1, I said okokon. However, when it is to be stated immediately after a noun, you say kokon, omo kokon. Omo kokon ba okokon. Omo, because a noun is coming before. In the 2 context, you say meji. If it is to be stated immediately after a noun, rather than AG, you would say meji. Efuwani meji. Give them 2 each. Distributive, 2 each. Meji. I like to make it clearer so you're not confused. If somebody says fun omo meji ni ejeji. Fun omo meji ni ejeji. Let's say these are the children. They've already been grouped. 4 per group. They've already been grouped that way. If somebody says fun omo meji, give children 2, because our adjectives come after a noun. So give 2 children 2 each. AG. 2 each. AG. Give 2 children 2 each. In that context, you can just pick any 2 children randomly, because the instruction is give 2 children 2 each. Let's say the thing that is being given is teddy bears. Give 2 children 2 each. So any 2 children, you give each of them 2. However, if they say fun omo meji ni ejeji. Fun omo meji ni ejeji. Ejeji, that's the form that can appear anywhere as long as it's not immediately after a noun. But if a noun is coming before, you say meji. In this case, it would be give 2 children each 2 each. Fun omo meji ni ejeji. Give any 2 children 2 each. Fun omo meji ni ejeji. Among the set, within this set, give, this is really advanced, isn't it? But I'd just like you to know it now. Give 2 children each. Among this group, pick 2 children and give them 2 each. 2 children. Omo meji. 2 each from this group. 2 each from these groups of 4. 2 each. 2 from here. This is the each. Each group. Pick 2 each from each group. So you pick 2 from here. You pick 2 from here. Pick 2 from here. Fun omo meji. Pick 2 each from each group. And then you give them 2 each. 2 teddy bears each. Omo meji suggests that you're not just picking any 2 children randomly. You're saying 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here. Rather than any 2 children, just give me 2 children so that I can give them 2 each. In this case, it's just 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here. 2, then I give them 2 each. I just want to throw that out there, so that you know, so that you're conscious of, give, just like this meji is for something, is for 2 from each set. In the fractional context, I don't want to overemphasize that. I believe that that's clear enough. If you don't get it, you may just have to give it a second look or ask me in the comment section, and I'll probably make a follow-up video or explain further. In the fractional context, these numbers answer questions regarding fractions. Is it the whole thing? Is it half of it? Is it 1/3 of it? Is it 1/4 of it? And so on. So Ìdá is division. Méjì is 2. So ìdá méjì. Of. Division into 2. So of. Ìdá méjì. Ìdá méjì. The strong version is ìdajì. Ìdajì. So if you don't hear ìdá méjì, you may hear ìdajì. And if you don't hear ìdajì, you may hear ìdá méjì. Another word for that, for of, is abo. When you divide something into 2, of. I know it's not necessarily 2 as in 2 the number, but 2 is being used. The number 2 is being, not the number 2, but it's been divided into 2 in that context. So I suppose that's also part of it. Ìdá méjì. Ìdá méjì. Ìdá méjì or ìdajì. Ìdajì. Another word is abo, but that's not numerical. It's not numerical. It's a way of expressing of as well, but it's not numerical. But I just thought I should note it. If you don't hear ìdá méjì, you would hear ìlà méjì. Ìlà méjì or ìlàjì, which is the strong version. Ìlàjì. 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 The only difference between ìdá méjì ìdajì and ìlà méjì ìlàjì is ìlàjì and ìlàjì even more frequently, because people like to use the strong versions, is used for liquids more often. So I remember when I was much younger, just a little girl, I remember running errands, and they would sell kerosene with beer bottles, and they would ask, kerosene elelo lefera, and I think you had to, I'm starting to forget, but you had to choose based on the size. You could say ìlàjì, you could say ìlàrin, which would be 1/4. We'll get there. You could say, I don't think they had a 1/3. I think it was this, I don't know why they never had a 1/3 of that, but anyway, that was how they sold kerosene to us, and that was how they sold palm oil to us, and that was how they sold vegetable oil to us. And I guess that's it. They don't sell petrol that way. Just those 3, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's either cooking oil or palm oil or vegetable oil or palm oil or kerosene, or yeah, I don't know how they sold the ones for cars, but you typically just bought a keg of oil. I don't think anybody measured engine oil that way. So it was just those 3. It's used for liquids more often. Ìlàjì. For a thing that is not liquid, you could use a ìlàjì ọsàn, half of an orange. It would still work, but many people would just say ìdajì. While these are correct, there's also the idea of common use. So I'm very obligated to tell you how people actually speak. While these are correct and they mean of, and nothing about them suggests that lies to divide. So nothing lies to divide, dies to divide. Nothing about them suggests that one has to be exclusive to liquids and the other to solids. But people would use ìdajì. People don't even say ìdá méjì that often. Ìdajì for solid ofs and ìlàjì for liquid ofs. So ìlàjì is what you typically hear. A fẹ́ repo ìlàjì. A fẹ́ repo ìlàrin. A fẹ́ repo ìgò kan. I'm almost nostalgic at this point. In the fractional forms, ìdá mélòó ni ẹ gbà? What fraction did you receive? What division? What fraction did you receive? If you want to say I received of, you could say mo gba ìdajì, or you could say mo gba ìlàjì. Mo gba ìdajì. Mo gba ìlàjì. Ìdá mélòó ni ẹ gbà? Mo gba ìdajì. Mo gba ìlàjì. I received of. Another thing that I'd like to mention is combinations exist. So, are there cases in which one of these forms would be added to another form? Yes, combinations do exist. So, there's more. If you want to express the adverbial distributive form, which would answer the question, how many times each? You have how many each, which is the distributive. You have how many times, which is the quality. Not how many, but how many times, which is the quality, the circumstance, the manner, so the adverbial. And you have the distributive, which is the each part of it. So how many times each? So is it once each, or twice each, or thrice each? You have this. Méjì méjì. Méjì méjì. Méjì méjì. Méjì méjì. So if someone asks the question, mélòó mélòó ni wọ́n ń kọ orin ní ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀? You can hear mélòó mélòó. You could hear mélòó mélòó. You could hear mélòó mélòó if you want to stretch it out like that. You could hear mélòó mélòó. It's just a dialectical thing. They are both correct. Mélòó mélòó. Mélòó mélòó. Mélòó mélòó. It's another dialect. Mélòó mélòó. Mélòó mélòó. Ni wọ́n kọ orin ní ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀. Ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ is ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀. It's like saying méjì méjì. Two each. Méjì méjì. Two each. Ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀ is each week. Ọ̀sẹ̀ is week. Ọ̀sẹ̀ is week. So ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀, each week. Ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀ is what is combined to give ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀. So how many times each? Mélòó mélòó. How many times each do they sing? Ni wọ́n kọrin. Do they sing? Ní ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀, each week. Ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀. Méjì méjì. Two each. Ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀, each week. Just ọ̀sẹ̀ duplicated. Ọ̀sẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀. Oṣooṣù is oṣù combined, each month. Ọdọọdún. Ọdọọdún là ń rórógbó. Ọdọọdún là ń ráùsá. Ọdọọdún là ń rọ́mọ obì lórí àtẹ. Ọdọọdún, ọdún, each year. So, how many times each do they sing each week? So, méjì méjì is what you would, if they sing twice each week, Michael Jackson sings twice each week, sing twice each week, 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 twice each. How many times each? Twice each week, twice each, twice each, twice each. It'd be twice each month if this was oshoshu. It'd be twice each year, but the point is twice each, twice each, 2 times each week, 2 times each week, 2 times each week, 2 times each week. Twice each, twice each, twice each. How many times do they sing each week? Twice each. Now, if they ask the question, mélòó ni wọ́n kọrin ní ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀, rather than mélòó mélòó, if they said mélòó ni wọ́n kọrin ní ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀, how many times? Well, I changed the sentence tense. I removed the so now it's past tense. How many times did they sing each week? How many times did they sing each week? In the adverbial sense, it would be méjì. In just the adverbial, not the adverbial distributive. Not twice each something, just twice. Méjì. 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 That's the adverbial. Expresses the quality, the manner. Twice. Méjì. Twice. How many times? Adverbial. How many times? Twice. Méjì. So what that would be is 2 songs were delivered from them each week, from the signed artists this week. from the performers this week. So it doesn't matter if it was Michael Jackson that sang, or these are the group of singers, and irrespective of who did the singing, we just know that 2 song performances were made. They sang twice. How many times did they sing each week? Twice. Irrespective of, they could have done the singing together. It could have been just this group. It could have been just Michael Jackson. But we know 2 songs were delivered from whomever each week. They sang twice each week. However, because the question is melo melo, it suggests how many times each. How many times each? Melo melo. Then you, rather than just saying meji, you say meji meji. It's like combining meji, which is the adverbial form, with meji meji 2 or 2h, which is the distributive form. Combining meji with meji meji, you have meji meji. Meji meji, meji and meji meji combined. Meji meji. There's a marriage between both forms, so you have meji meji. Meji meji. In the fractional distributive, how many fractions each? Ìdá méjì méjì, when it is 2 fractions each. 2 fractions each. So half each, or 1/3 each, or 1/4 each. How many fractions each? Ìdá méjì méjì is what it is if it is half each. Half each. Ìdá méjì méjì. Ìdá méjì méjì. So if somebody asks the question, ìdá mélòó mélòó ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ yín? Ìdá mélòó mélòó ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ yín? How many fractions each? Mélòó mélòó. How many fractions each did they collect from you? Mélòó mélòó. It's a way of expressing each. Mélòó mélòó. Méjì méjì. Mẹ́ta mẹ́ta. Mélòó mélòó. Ìdá mélòó mélòó. Fractional distribute. Ìdá is the fractional. Mélòó mélòó is the distributive. That's why it's ìdá mélòó mélòó. That's a way of asking the question. Ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ yín. How many fractions each did they collect from you? The answer, if they collected off each, let's say there are 3 people or 2 people, if they collected off each, ìdá méjì méjì. Ìdá méjì méjì. Ìdá méjì méjì off each is what they collected from us. That's fractional distributive. Off each. So in the fractional form, this, if somebody asks, just the fractional, not the fractional distributive. Ìdá mélòó ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ yín? What fraction did they collect from you? You could just say ìdá méjì. In that case, you don't need to say ìdá méjì méjì. You say ìdá méjì. Ìdá méjì. They collected off. So, or collected off. It is just, it could be plural and it could be one person in the honorific form. If you've not seen my video on personal pronouns, you should. Actually, yeah, and my video on the heart of honorific pronouns. So they collected off. If they say, what fraction did they collect from you? Let's say this is a plot of land. Oh, they took off from us. Or they took off from me. If it's just one person, it doesn't really matter in that case. It could be one person. It could be 1,000. They took off of the shared property. As opposed to ìdá méjì méjì, where they took off each from each person. Ìdá méjì off. However, in this case, ìdá méjì méjì, they took off each. Rather than ìdá mélòó, you have ìdá mélòó mélòó. Rather than ìdá mélòó, you have ìdá mélòó mélòó. How many fractions each they collect from you? Ìdá méjì méjì. Ìdá méjì méjì. Ìdá méjì méjì of each. Apart from the fractional distributive, we also have the fractional collective, and it expresses all of the fractions, or so that would be all 2 halves, or all 3/3, or all 4/4, all 5/5, all 6/6, all 7 it expresses all of the fractions. For 2, all 2 ofs, you have ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì, all 2 ofs. So let's say somebody asks the question, ìdá mélòó ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ yín? Ìdá mélòó ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ yín? What fraction did they collect from you? What fraction? What fraction of the land did they collect from you? Did the colonizers collect from you? Let's say somebody came and split the, or maybe let's say you, the people, decided that you're going to split the land into 2 and you're going to give them off and you're going to take off. And something happens and they decide that the second half is theirs as well and they want to take all the halves, all 2 halves. Then you would say they took all 2 of those halves. Ìdá méjèèjì, all 2 halves, ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ wa, ni is what they collected from us, wa. You should see my video on personal pronoun. I think I recommended it earlier. If you click on the cards, the what are they called? The ones that you attach to the top right corner. If you click on that, the eye, what looks like the eye, you find that video because I referenced it earlier. Ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì. If you say ìdá méjì ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ wa, they took off. Ìdá méjì, ìdá méjì. However, ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì, they took the 2 offs. They took all the offs, all 2 offs. They decided that you were going to take off and they would take off, but then they somewhat decided that their own off wouldn't do and that they need your off. They need all the offs. So, ìdá méjèèjì ni wọ́n gbà lọ́wọ́ wa. Ìdá méjèèjì, ìdá méjèèjì. That's fractional collective. If you have any questions in this regard, maybe there's something that wasn't clear or maybe there's something that I forgot because I sometimes forget, please don't hesitate to comment below. Please be interactive and let me know that you're watching, just so that I don't feel like boo with the fool. Just so that I don't feel like I'm speaking to. I'd like to receive feedback from you so that I can tell if it's making sense to you or not. I would really appreciate that, more interaction. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I appreciate all my patrons and my YouTube members, Eduardo, Lou, everybody. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for sustaining my work and supporting me. And don't forget about my Etsy shop. By the following week, I would have more things listed, more items listed. So please feel free, don't hesitate to patronize me, and I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye for now.
Olúwa má jẹ́ ká mọ̀ ya, má jẹ́ ká mọ̀ sí nílé ayé o.